Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. We are live. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we just want to thank you for tuning in. Again, my name is Whitney Middlebrooks. I am the FSS coordinator here at the Lexington Housing Authority. And today we have a really awesome workshop. Again, we just wanted to apologize for yesterday. We ran into some technical difficulties, but we are here. We are excited today to have our special guest from the local government federal credit union here and to give you some awesome information in reference to managing your finances during a pandemic. And I'll have each of my hosts today introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Sage Chioma. I am the project coordinator for BOSS Initiative, which is building our own success stories. And we're here once again to give you the knowledge and skills to build your own success story.
And I am Brian Griffin. Again, I am with Local Government Federal Credit Union. I'm a membership development officer, and I'm in the western part of the state near Asheville. And also, I'm a certified credit union financial counselor, which allows me to do this presentation today and share this information with you. So, Whitney, you just let me know when we're ready to roll, okay?
All right. And I just want to also encourage people to leave a comment. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments. And whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're watching on Facebook, I will be able to see them and will be able to let Mr. Griffin, if he needs to stop and maybe address it. So again, feel free to interact and ask questions as needed.
And also try to retain at least some of the information if you need to take a note, because at the end there will be at least 1 or 2 giveaways, and we'll ask a specific question that if you have the answer to, then you will get the giveaway.
And before you start, those who are on the Facebook page, Mr. Griffin did give us some really good information that he wanted us to, for the participants to view, and that is on the Facebook page. I'll reshare it so that it's the first post that you'll see. And it's just some basic information about basic budgeting. It's a worksheet, and he may reference that throughout the presentation. So I'm gonna go ahead and have Mr. Griffin share his screen.
Okay. Okay. And I'm going to bring up the presentation. Can everybody see this?
So if everybody can see it, at least one person, could you comment and say, give me a thumbs up, or actually comment and say that you can see it?
Did you get a thumbs up?
I think so. Yes. So I think that we are good to go. So okay. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna proceed.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. As we begin here, I would like to thank Whitney and Sage for having me today. And I'd also like to give a shout out to one of my teammates, Leanna Lott, who has been coordinating with Whitney and Sage in making this happen. So I really, really appreciate that. And also, I'd like to say my apologies for yesterday. Just when you think you got it all planned, set, and ready to roll, nature tends to control your situation. And that kind of is a lead into this presentation as far as building a basic budget during a pandemic. And honestly, the tools that you'll receive today is during a pandemic and after a pandemic. Really just basic budget tools to help you manage your finances. And so as we begin, yes.
Brian, before you go, I also want to just make a quick note, because I do have Mr. Leo Rucker. He is actually viewing our live as well. And Mr. Rucker is actually the artist who has been putting all the really great community art in our communities. And I just want to give him a shout out. He's been working hard in the hot sun.
Oh, wow.
Just, send your thanks to him. I mean, the pieces really look great. I mean, they were hand painted. I don't know if you all saw the $100 bill. I was impressed. I mean, hand painted that thing, and it looks amazing. And we want everybody to know that moving forward every month, in reference to whatever our topic is, he's going to install some great art. So just take selfies and post them and tag us, because we want everybody to just kind of get involved. And definitely, again, sending our thanks to Mr. Rucker for his time and hard work.
Well, that's one of those virtual applauses to Mr. Rucker. Way to go. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Whitney. Really, that's truly awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to do that.
No, absolutely, no problem. And moving forward here, the objectives as far as the presentation, one, how to set up the plan. You'll see in this seminar that budget and spending plan are synonymous with one another. So just hone in on that. You may hear one or the same during the presentation. Of course, we want to identify spending leaks, and that means things that you're not necessarily keeping a track of. You don't think it costs that much, but can have an impact on your budget. And next, when you talk about identifying spending leaks, the whole idea is you're tracking all of your spending so that you can figure out ways to save money. And so one of the things I'm going to introduce you to, if you've not already been introduced to it, because I think most of us have this mindset that you pay yourself last, you save money last. And I'd like to introduce a tool to you that you can look at paying yourself first. And anytime you set out to do something, you want to have goals. What would you like to accomplish? And I think the idea with this too is that you can identify necessary things as upon, that you get into the needs and the wants aspect, and goals can help you separate that. And when you set out to do goals and you're tracking, you always want to revise your goals as necessary, audit your progress, make adjustments as necessary. And finally, there's financial tools that you can utilize that help you do this. You can also look at, of course, writing it down if you're old-fashioned like me. So, my goal is to give you some tools that you can utilize on a day-to-day.
Okay, just let me know when you're sharing your screen, Brian, so I can make sure it's good to go.
Say that again. I'm sorry, Whitney.
When you're sharing the PowerPoint, I just want to be sure that it's showing correctly.
Okay, do you see it now?
No.
You don't see
it. I see his PowerPoint, and I see us as well.
But
Okay.
You don't see it, Whitney?
I don't. If anybody can let me know if they see it, because I see I see us, but I don't.
Oh, no, I see his screen, and his PowerPoint he hasn't really pulled up yet.
Okay, that's what I want to be sure about.
I have not. Okay.
Yeah, he has to enlarge it.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see that?
Share it with me.
Okay. Let's so you still can't see it.
If you just hit share screen, I think, and then
okay,
when it gives you the option, you hit what's on your screen.
Okay, it was sharing just a second ago. My apologies, ladies.
Or you know what? Unless you share it and minimize it, there you go.
There we go. And just make sure that you make it bigger.
Okay, can you see that now?
Yep, there we go.
Okay. I must have unfortunately hit something that took it out of that. But if it happens again, let me know, okay?
Oh, yeah, sure thing.
Okay. Sorry, folks. Now, back to the benefits of managing your money here and moving on with the presentation. Of course, the idea is you want to free up some time, and if you have a greater control on your finances, of course, that'll lead into less stress and lower your blood pressure. And of course, if you've ever achieved goals in the past, it gives you this level of satisfaction that it makes you feel good about yourself. Now, I know talking about finances can send a cold chill up your spine. Nobody likes to talk about money. And also, money has also been attributed to being the #1 cause for divorce. So, it's not fun to talk about. It's not fun to sit down and look at finances. But once you are able to get yourself in a position where you have your finances under control, it can help you better position yourself during major, minor setbacks, for example, like a job loss. Okay, now, before we truly dive into the presentation, I would like for the participants to the call to go through these 8 questions real quick. We'll just take a moment in silence and let you look at those. But this will hopefully give you some things you will want to pinpoint to help improve on your situation, or hopefully you'll look for as far as the rest of this presentation that'll help you out. So I'll be quiet for just a second, let folks go through these 8 questions. Okay. I believe hopefully I've given everybody enough time, and I'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. So ask yourself these things as we're talking about budgeting and spending plan. Do you realize that you spend more than you make? You've gotten to periods where you spend uncontrollably, you neglect savings, or you don't even have a savings, you start charge instead of saving. And again, this pay yourself last aspect, where that by the time you go through your spending, you don't have anything to put in savings. So you may identify with one or all of these areas as far as looking at your budget. So again, I had mentioned to you about goals, and some of you may be familiar with this acronym SMART as far as specific, measurable, adjustable, realistic, and time-oriented. I know through the local government, the credit union, I have a goal which is a SMART goal. So the idea is that you may sit around and you think about some things like, for example, here, you say, I want to pay off my credit card. It's $1,200. Okay, instead of just talking about it, put it into a format that, for example, here, I will pay off my credit card at $1,200 within 12 months. And how will you do this? I will do this by taking lunch and not eating out as much. The idea is it breaks it down for you. For instance, like it's $100 a month, it's $20, $30 a month, and ultimately it's $3, and I believe it's $3.29 a day. So when you can look at something and $3.29 a day, that becomes realistic for you. And you can set out to have a goal of paying off this credit card within the 12 months. But of course, it can be adjustable. If you have something happen, just revise your goal. And there again, you want to make it realistic, though, and don't shoot for the moon and then set yourself up for failure while you're doing this. Okay. All right. So when we talk about goals, there's 3 types of goals as far as the short term, within 6 months, that can possibly filter to 12 months, depending on that type of goal and circumstances that come up. Intermediate, within 1 to 5 years, and then long term, longer than 5 years, which would involve if you're looking towards retirement or investing. For the purpose of this presentation, though, we're honing in on short term. Once you master the skills of short term budgeting, planning, and so forth, you can start focusing on your longer term goals, intermediate and long term. So I provided a worksheet here for you as an idea of, to me, when you write something out, it becomes real. It makes it, I won't say tangible, but it's something that you look at. And for example, here, now forgive me on how much a TV costs. I haven't bought a TV in a while, but I wanted to give you an example of a specific, measurable, adjustable, realistic, and time-oriented type of goal. That as you're preparing to do your budget, you have specific goals in mind that you want to achieve. Start writing them down and get into a practice of doing this, because what will happen is as you're developing your budget and your spending plan, hopefully you'll get into a situation where you can start checking off some of these. Now, I can stop for just a second and just say, would anybody like to share possibly a short-term goal that would fall within this, that they could write out and save so much a month, and look at the time frame and so forth. We don't have to go through the number part over here, but just list out a possible short-term goal. Would anybody like to share one? Maybe, maybe not.
I'll share one.
Okay.
Hold on. I would share maybe paying off my credit card. Would that be maybe a short-term or medium-term goal?
When you're looking at it, it can, really determine based upon the number of months is whether it will fall into your short-term or intermediate. Because if you really can't, I would say, achieve it within the 12-month period, you might want to move that to a medium term. And the idea with that is at least having a dollar amount of money that you can truly put towards that goal. But yes, certainly credit cards can fall within that based upon, how long do you think it could take you to pay it off?
We actually have a comment. Hold on. Can you see that, Brian?
Actually, I can't,
Okay.
based upon the
Okay.
presentation that I'm in.
We have someone who has stated that buying a new MacBook for almost $1,000.
Okay.
All under.
You could put that into a short-term goal based upon if you have the availability to allot a certain amount within the 12 months. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have another comment. Paying off my credit card bill with Big Lots before 6 months.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And particularly if you are in a plan that gives you 6 months to pay it off without any interest, that's certainly an incentive to do that too, because that little thing called interest that accumulates on your credit card or loans or et cetera can really sabotage your budget too, because unfortunately, if you're only able to pay a minimum payment, you can get into this whirlwind of getting, unfortunately, charged more interest than almost what you pay sometimes. So that was a great example. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So with that, I'll move on. And when you're looking at, I want to say, the blueprint of your finances, folks, it really just falls into income and expenses. And the piggy bank here representing your money coming in and your expenses as far as flying right on out of your wallet there, unfortunately. And so, again, keeping it basic, keeping it simple here, you're looking at your income and you're looking at your expenses. And so the 5 steps here, and hopefully we can call it successful once you feel like you have a real good grip on it. But you start by listing out your monthly income and your sources. You have to determine where your money goes by way of receipts, keeping up with the register, etc. And then you balance your income and expenses. This may sound like an auditing term, so to speak, but 100% of your income will want to match 100% of your expenses. And I know that sounds odd when you talk about savings and allotting money for savings, but savings is considered an expense because you're balancing it within your budget to put money aside to put into your expenses. And review and communicate. Again, this goes back to once you get something set in motion, you continually review it and revise it as necessary. Now, I'm going to hone in on the word communicate here for just a moment, because this may scare folks a little bit, but you'll understand the reasoning behind it when I say this to you. Communicate. If you have a family or within your budget, there's more than just yourself. The idea is to communicate with everyone that's involved in your household as far as the income and the expenses, even children. This is an idea to help educate children when they're smaller. And part of the communication is this. If you get this golden plan in place, what can happen? Somebody, unfortunately, and not even intentionally, can sabotage this plan that you put in motion without really knowing that they're doing that because they don't know. So the idea is making sure everyone's aware. This is not pointing fingers, but really it's truly just making sure everybody is accountable for having a successful plan in place. And if you're single, if you have a mentor, possibly someone close that you can rely on to give you a gut check about your finances, truly look at that. This is kind of a joke, but you can also look at yourself in the mirror and hold yourself accountable. But, beyond that, if you have a relationship with somebody, say through Whitney or Sage, you need checking on it. Don't be afraid to get help and do it as soon as you possibly can if you run into problems and hiccups. And the bottom line is this, folks, too, is that there's a situation where maybe finances were not introduced to you at all during the course of your lifetime. And so there's nothing wrong with asking for somebody, or, like this presentation, to figure out ways to help you manage your money. And so with that leads into number 5 here is managing your system. And we'll get into different types of systems here in just a moment. So step 1 here is listing your monthly income sources, and then we'll look at expenses. This goes from anything from your paycheck to just really anything on here. Now, the other category here, I will point out that maybe that's a stimulus check category, but one of the things that, since I've been at home for a couple of months now, the folks in my position, we've been grounded. I've gone around my house, attic, garage, and I've started selling things online. Facebook Marketplace has actually been a very successful place to get rid of things that I don't utilize anymore, or just don't need. And it's amazing what people will buy. So don't discount that aspect as far as trying to make some money, which can feed back into helping you with your goals, and it goes back into your income. So the next part of it, as far as after you are able to account for all of your income, is your monthly expenses. And they fall into 3 types of categories here: your fixed, your variable, and your discretionary. Car payment's an example of something that doesn't change as far as your payment each month. A variable type of expense can be food from one week to the next. The amount of food that you buy may be more or less depending on what type of where you are in the month. And then discretionary charitable donations. This can be maybe even a candy bar or something of that nature. But anyway, these are the types of expenses. And I'll throw this back out to the audience. Do you have another type of fixed payment that you make each month that could fall in this, or a variable type of expense that you'd like to share? So any comments? If not, then that's okay too. Just wanted to hone in on this area to make sure folks they understand these different types of expenses.
Of course, my rent is going to be fixed. I mean, it pretty much stays the same unless, it's a rent increase, but that's typically within a year. But my rent is going to be the same. And like, as you listed, car payment is going to be the same as well. So
Exactly. Okay.
it's the variable that gets me, because it's always the food and the going out that you can never really truthfully plan for. And I'm sure other people deal with that too, is those expenses that come up along the way. And sometimes they're not necessarily important expenses.
Right.
The social aspect of things, and we go out to eat a lot, of just other things like that, and even maybe gas, I would assume, go in that, because I mean that does vary.
Yes.
Money to the side, but it does vary. And Leanna from the credit union also stated cell phone bill.
Yes.
We also have another comment from someone: medical bills.
Yes.
as well. Somebody said phone bills, and Miss Brandy also said gas is variable because you again never know the price. So
Right. Very good. Yes, absolutely. And thanks for everybody for sharing that too. Okay. And so the next thing here, as far as expenses go, and I'm going to say this is a guideline for these different categories. And, you know, your housing is generally your most expensive. Transportation can fall into that. The reason I think this is important to really hone in on for each one of these categories is that, for instance, with your food, and Whitney had just made a comment about going out to eat. Now, if you see your food area 30, 40, 50%, what these are red flags that some of these expense categories could be a little bit out of control and can also help you pinpoint how can I actually, you know, look at this type of expense? Well, obviously, with eating out is to go to the grocery store to buy more meals, obviously, to help out with that. So anyway, use this as a guide when you're looking at your budget. And this is going to tie into another form that we're going to look at in just a second that you'll see the numbers for yourself, and you can look at these guidelines as far as, okay, I feel comfortable within how much I'm spending in these different areas. And I do want to point out again, when you see expense categories, I say this throughout the presentation, saving, that's a big thing there as far as saving and trying to instill it into your budget. Okay, so this is the form that I was talking about as far as your cash flow statement. It gives you a running tally on 2 months here, as you can see with the columns. And you can date back to May and June to get real expenses, and then look at it as you're developing your budget, because you need real numbers to be able to see where you are and where you would like to go. And then on an ongoing basis, you can continue to write this out. Now, I know there's sophisticated programs out there now that will keep an account of this, but honestly, if you've not done anything like this before, I really, truly recommend that you write it out to see it for yourself. And then you'll see the piggy bank here in the wallet as far as the money going out. Again, income must equal expenses. So at the top of the expense category, you see savings, okay? Even if it's $5, I think that you got to start somewhere, start small if you need to. And down at the bottom, we'll get into this a little bit on the expense side here, is the miscellaneous other here. And you often hear that folks will say, you know, I set up a savings account. You know, try to shoot for 1 month on doing that, okay? I know that you'll read a lot of articles or you'll hear a lot of things. Well, you need 6 months, you need 12 months. Well, if you don't have anything at all, then again, this is not shooting for the moon, but this is just taking baby steps to start the process to get some things in place that you become really diligent at and you start following your system, okay? But the miscellaneous other section down here at the bottom is the idea of emergency savings, okay? This is more of what I refer to as the unexpected expenses that come up, that once you have your savings in place, that you feel comfortable about that, then you can start looking at building separate accounts for this. It's not the same account. And this touches on banking a little bit as far as with your savings account, you can do automatic withdrawals. If you're online, you can move money over. With this emergency savings account, folks often, you know, the thing to do is don't make it too easy to get to, okay? Meaning that a lot of folks will have their checking and savings account tied together, that they can move savings automatically. Now, the emergency savings, you would not necessarily want to have that ability to do it, but still have access to it if you need to get money. So utilize this cash flow statement, particularly for your previous 2 months, to catch you up to where you can look at a budget and move forward. Okay.
I wanted to add for those who may have never done an expense report. We had a comment from our YouTube channel who mentioned she mentioned gas for car as one of those variable expenses, and also a young lady stated that last week it was 195 and then it's 175. When doing the expense report, and putting in your expenses, do you recommend that they round it and maybe use the higher number to kind of, or what do you recommend? So if I spent $40 in gas last week, but then, the week before that I only spent 20, how does somebody be able to manage that and kind of get a more accurate amount of what they're actually spending in gas specifically?
Okay, very good question. I think that it becomes an average of past numbers to predict the future. And what I mean by that is, say if you're looking at a month here and you spent 40, 20, 40, 20, what's $120 in that particular month. And so you can gauge your 4 or 5 weeks by a certain average. And of course, with that, if you have some weeks that are a little bit less, then of course that helps you at the end of the week. But I would just use an average on that. If unless you see what I would refer to as a serious $1, $2 change, and in our times anymore, who knows what can happen. But if it's significant, then you may have to reevaluate not being able to do an average each week. But that's what I would recommend and suggest as far as that question, Whitney, is just trying to look at your past 2 months as far as how much you've spent in gas. And unless there's been a big variance in the price in say the 3rd month that you're budgeting, then you can take an average of each one of those months and plug that in as far as your budget number. But there again, as we've said, as I said throughout the presentation, you adjust and revise as necessary. Okay, so that's how I would answer that.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely, and keep the questions coming. And so we've talked about gathering your income, your expenses. We've talked about writing out your goals. We've looked at your fixed expenses, your variable expenses. And this right here, as far as your methods to tracking your spending, really is what is going to be your system. Okay, when I say manage your system, how are you going to do that? Now, I know through local government, we have an online app. It's called Compass. It can help you with your inputting of your information and keep track of it. It can run pretty graphs for you. Like apps, there's Mint. If you're familiar with Mint, that's a recommended app. Computer programs can be anything like QuickBooks or something of that nature. And of course, if writing checks and keeping up everything, it's always advised and recommended to keep a daily checkbook ledger as you go forward to cross-reference information that you put into the computer. And receipts, anytime you shop, this is the idea of tracking leaks within your spending. Is if you have the receipt in front of you, you've got to put it in that ledger or on your system in whatever you're using. Now, for the old school folks out there, and if there are any, there's the envelope system. I don't want to discard this because I know plenty of people from being in credit union banking environment for 25 years that this envelope method is as effective as anything that I've seen as far as folks write out their expenses. They know what they are. They get cash for all of their expenses, and they go and pay based upon what time of the month it is that they have to pay something. So if that works for you, and if that is something that you need to put specific amounts of money into a labeled envelope for that particular time of month, hey, don't make fun of it. Again, I know some very savvy folks that still do that. So, and again, I'll turn this back over to the audience. I'm still a little old school. I mean, I use online banking. And some other things here. Do some folks in the audience know some other apps or programs that they could suggest, or that they're aware of, or they know about that they'd like to share?
I want to share this comment that was made, and it says, she says she may be telling too much of her business, but her rent actually went down, but she pays the previous amount she was paying and puts the difference into a piggy bank. So whenever she moves out, so she's doing her own savings.
Yes, absolutely. And she's a slide or two ahead of the savings screen, but that's awesome. And continue to do that. Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have any tools or things that they use or do to help them?
Okay. If not, that's okay. You can.
I have an app. It really just helps more so with me staying on top of bills. If you have I think it's available on Android and iPhone. It's called Prism, and it's just that keeps account with all of my bills. So I do have to manually put everything in. So I do pretty much everything online banking. I add my online banking information, and it literally tells me every time, like, oh, well, this is due. The credit card due. Is Time Warner's, Spectrum's due. And it helps me because sometimes I do get kind of like, sometimes I forget, because I don't do anything auto pay. So I do just like to have a quick reminder to know. I don't know if anybody uses an app like that. It also links to my bank account, and it tells me how much money I'm going to have once I pay those bills. So that's just something I use. I have another comment as well.
Okay.
We have Carl from the credit union says that his wife handles most of their budget, and she prefers pen and paper over mobile apps. So.
Hey, kudos to her. Carl, tell her I'm with her. I totally understand. So thank you for sharing, Carl.
If I might add, some people are kind of leery about mobile and different things because you wind up with things linking to devices as well as a lot of information being in several different spaces, personal information.
Absolutely.
Some people are just a little old-fashioned that way.
Yeah. And I think when online hacks occur and different things like that, it also distills fear in folks too that their personal information is going to be stolen. And so, again, whatever method you feel comfortable with, that's the idea, because it's you, yourself, and I, or you yourself, doing it. And you want it to be something that sticks and that you're comfortable with ongoing. That I think that's the most important thing.
Because a level of self-accountability, am I right, Mr. Griffin, is really what is going to make it work, holding yourself accountable.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
No matter what you're using, you got to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's the idea of presenting various different types of way to do it, because if, like I said, with the envelope system, if that works for those folks and they make it happen. I know some folks may be more technology savvy than others. They may count on an app to be able to do that for them. But the accountability thing and making sure it's something that you're comfortable with, again, Sage, thank you for sharing that. I think that is really important.
I heard you say it in the beginning about looking in the mirror and
yes.
Like that's not to be underestimated. Like looking in the mirror and telling yourself you can do this.
Right.
But I want to just, for the record, I have storm. So just so you know, there is some weather conditions outside. So just saying, just in case.
Okay.
I want to share a comment from local credit union. Miss Greta stated that she uses the credit union's bill pay, and she had her bills sent to the pay system. It sends her a reminder when the bill is due. It saves time and paper, but it also keeps her in control. And she can also set the bill pays to do auto pay. And she can turn it off anytime. And I think that's similar to the Prism app that I use, but I think that's a great tool. Reminding, it kind of eliminates the paper, as we stated. But I think it's just so many different ways and so many different things that you can
And
keep up.
any
Yes.
financial institution or bank offers that. And also they offer a way to print up the summaries so that you really can see for the whole year.
Right.
Embarrassed about it, refreshments and food one year. When I looked at it, I was like, oh my.
Yeah.
I have one more other comment just to share, and I just want to share these comments because some people
Oh, absolutely.
working
And
on
thank you for sharing that too, Greta, by the way.
another Ms. Griffin stated that a coworker mentions to her about Every Dollar app. She hasn't tried it, but apparently her coworker likes it. But so for those who are looking for a mobile app to help them, you have the Every Dollar app that's mentioned. I mentioned Prism. Also, if you're with the credit union, they have a bill payer. Look with your bank to see what they offer. So there's a lot of options out here that can help and keep you on track with your expenses and your income.
Okay.
You're welcome, Karen.
Well, good deal. That was very interactive, and thanks for all the comments. Certainly appreciate that. Add into this particular slide here. Just get comfortable with what you use and hold yourself accountable. So, all right. So, step 2 in this process to determine where your money goes, and the little things add up. I can share a little story here about prior to the presentation going, Sage and Whitney and I were talking about coffee and a go-to. And for a period of time, about 3 weeks, my visit out of the house every day was going to get a cup of coffee just to keep my sanity. And spending $3-4 depending on if I got a side item. And so what happened during this period of time, I had told my wife that I saw a pair of shoes that I wanted to get. And she challenged me. She knows I'm a little nerd and I would accept the challenge. And so she goes, well, I bet you if you stop going to, get this cup of coffee every day and that side item and maybe just take a walk instead of getting a coffee and just continue to make coffee at home, you can buy that pair of shoes in 3 weeks. And, of course, my wife is always right. And, I did that. And in 3 weeks, I was able to buy a pair of shoes. And the reason I bring up this type of an example is you can get into a habit of buying things, for instance, like the coffee. And I wasn't necessarily keeping up with coffee. Again, this is a spending leak because $3 or $4, that wasn't a big deal. But over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, you can see by not doing it, I was able to buy something else of a larger amount that I really wanted as well. So, take that for what it is and look at how you spend money on a daily basis, weekly basis, and so forth. And are there little things that maybe you're not keeping up with that you should keep up with that add up that will help you put money back into your budget to buy things that you really want to get to? Okay, so I just wanted to share that. Mm-hmm. And let's see here. Let me continue on. So step 3, I'll say this a lot during the presentation. You take in your income, you pay out your expenses. You see this scale here. The idea is you want to balance these 100% equal as far as what comes in goes out. The idea is make changes if you need to, and we want you to be able to save more. Pay yourself first when you do this. And step 4 is, again, honing in on reviewing everything. You've done your cash flow statements, you've developed your budget, now you're putting it into action with your 3 and 4 months as far as you did your 1 and 2 with the previous months. Now you're moving forward. Are you doing a true account of your expenses? Have you plugged those spending leaks? And once again, analyze and revise and communicate. Have that family discussion about where, for instance, if you are not able to contribute 100% with income and expenses, something's off. And it's not you, where is it again? And again, maybe it's not somebody trying to sabotage you, but they just remind them again of how important it is to stay on track with your goal in your budget, so that you can continue to save, and then hopefully be able to move to an emergency savings as you continue to master your plan. And okay, folks, we've reached the part of the presentation where that you have this wonderful plan. It's golden and it's executing in the way that you want to. And what happens? You get a pitfall that can just throw a wrench into everything that you've done. And so what are some of those things to be aware of that you can start possibly budgeting for or building up in a savings? Of course, there's always the eating out. Do you leave lights on? I know one of the most, you may not think about this, but air and moisture leaks can be probably, I think it's attributed to being the #1 reason why your power bill can go up. So be careful of air that's flowing through windows or doors. Do you eat out frequently? Do you have leaky faucets? Things that can just drain on your budget. Now, quick car acceleration. Now, I was a speed racer at one time and got many tickets and realized that my insurance premiums were going sky high, so could not afford doing that. And just because I'm giving a presentation on budget doesn't mean I'm immune from these things. I mean, this past Saturday, I get up and I have water under my refrigerator, and unfortunately my ice box is broken. That's a cha-ching. I've got a call to have service on that. It's Saturday. Today I'm going to mow the grass, so I get over the headache with the refrigerator, and I go down and my lawnmower won't start. And there's another cha-ching, and got a call to have that serviced, and then which ultimately means I have to pay somebody to mow my grass. But there is a success story, with this. I've been able to allot money over to my savings and plan for these types of events, and it felt good. And I want each of you to feel good about this as if you're beginning out on this quest to balance your budget and cover expenses like this. This goes back to the accomplishing of goal slide that was in the beginning. It feels good not to have to figure out, do I have to go get credit to pay for this? And then I don't want to neglect saying that you don't want to have credit, because you have to have good credit to be able to get things. It's just trying to avoid not having to use credit as far as in all of your expenses, so to speak. So I may have left off a category or two here. I can turn it back over to the audience. If you see something that's missing on here and you feel like sharing, please do. But I just wanted to try to give a list of them. But from the audience, is there anything that I'm missing on this screen here that can really drain your budget too? So any comments, feel free to comment here.
Well, I'll just say from personal experience, it always feels like anytime I'm saving or have done, have a goal about something, it's always my tire. I'm just like, this is the worst time. And I have like a sports car, so it's the most expensive tire too. Then it has a rim on it, and it's like, I don't have money for this. So that's one of those things that's very unexpected.
Yes.
It, and I'm just like, I really was not expecting that.
Right.
Never planned for the tire going out. It's like no way to really know that, but that's just something that I just wanted to share that has happened to me several times.
That darn tire. Absolutely. I've been there too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if nothing, no other comments, then moving on.
We do have one, unexpected dental bills.
Okay. Yes. Unexpected dental bills, yeah, which can get quite pricey.
Very much so.
Okay. Well, thank you for that comment and sharing that. And that moves us into the practical money saving tips. Now, it was referenced as far as the piggy bank just a minute ago. And so it's funny, I had this as a slide. And even though we're in a national crisis or shortage of coins, but it may neglect this having the piggy bank here. But I know that over the course of my lifetime with change, I've just tossed it to the side and, trying to make this as realistic as possible. Um, Maybe you have as much as 75 cents a week that you gather up or you just toss because you get from change. 52 weeks in a year, that's $39. I mean, that is not a significant amount, but just think that over the course of time, that just builds up with just something that's just sitting around and you can just put it in one place. With the other areas here, use credit wisely. The idea with credit, again, is that you want to maintain credit. You don't want to max out your credit. Of course, interest is works against you, and so that's just something that if you can, just be cautious and careful of if you have to use credit. Now, we've used the example of paying down your credit card in the beginning, and one of the ladies from the audience gave the example as she's paid down her credit card, she was able to move more money over to savings. That was perfect with as far as going with the idea of how can you save. If you're in a situation, refinance doesn't necessarily just apply to a mortgage. It can be referred to a car payment. The idea in something like this is if you're able to get a better rate, maybe shorten your term. You want to save on the cost of interest over the course of a term. So just, review, do your research when you're looking at doing something like that. Bundle insurance, of course, you've seen the commercials, Geico and Progressive, State Farm. I think if nothing else that I've gotten out of the pandemic period of time is that I didn't realize Bigfoot's name was Daryl. So maybe you've picked up on that too. So,
Yeah.
and then lastly, shop around. And I can't overemphasize this shop around aspect because the internet has so many programs out there. There's nerdwallet.com, I believe, is one that you can do shopping on your credit union, your bank, credit card, any type of product, insurance. So invest time in shopping for the best products for yourself that fall within your budget, that are the best value for you. And don't underestimate that ability to shop around, because I know that it's easy to fall into getting solicitation that you're pre-approved, this and that and everything else. Just be cautious on doing something of that nature. And it leads into more money saving tips here with utilizing things like with your credit union or bank with payroll direct deposit, moving money automatically, make savings a habit, use rebates and coupons. Now, I've gotten into a pattern. I buy store brands nowadays. I found that does reduce some of the total grocery bill in looking at that. Unfortunately, I do tell a little fib on myself. There's one product that I just can't do that on, and that's my Duke's mayonnaise. I'm sorry, I don't buy store brand. I don't buy any other brand. So I understand if you have a particular item, I don't feel like my mayonnaise is going to break my budget, but just wanted to share that. Adjust your thermostat. It's been found that I think you turn down your thermostat 1 degree. Turn your thermostat down 1 degree in the winter and turn it up 1 degree in the winter. You can save $3 on your electric bill. So, again, not significant, but something that can impact not having to pay out just by doing a small little thing. Drive sensibly, of course. If you're racking up tickets, like I had mentioned before, you're going to pay. And that can be very costly. And I think the last two here are are hopefully pretty obvious as far as don't go to the store when you're starving, and avoid going out by instilling in your grocery list, buying some items that you can take to lunch at your work for you.
I just want to jump in and add a couple comments just to keep saying interaction. We do
Okay.
have someone on our YouTube channel watching, and she just mentioned in terms of savings, it's the little things saying that, oh, it's not that expensive. But she said the more you keep doing that, it does add up. So just think about some of the things that are kind of like frivolous and maybe unnecessary, but it does add up. And maybe, as you mentioned with the coffee, just putting it to the side, saving it. Even if you're not saving for something in particular, just maybe putting it to the side and saving it. And we also have another comment. There's a coin shortage going on, and she just wanted to say that the coin shortage has helped her because she was been short on some change, and then she went to stores and they've been like, okay, just give me whatever the even number is. So that's pretty kind of weird that we're actually in a coin.
Sure.
Yeah. And Carl from local government said that he's a peanut butter snob. So he's only buying Jiffy. Or Jiffy only. So as you like your Duke's mayonnaise, he has certain peanut butter that he cannot,
I'm with you, Carl. It's interesting. And, I'll give a statistic that, and maybe folks are not aware of this in the audience or listening in, but I think it's a high amount, 70 to 80%. I'm thinking it's more on the 80% of millionaires penny pinch. Mm-hmm. And so you can see all the fame and fortune on TV and so forth of the glamour, but realistically, people that have money, they have their money for reasons, and that they look for the best deals. They shop around, and I think that within the survey it said that if a millionaire could take a survey to get $1, they would. So again, starting small to make it big. I mean, it's the little things. And with the comment from YouTube, you don't realize how fast these little things can add up. So again, keep the comments coming. That they're great. They're very nice tie-in with the presentation and really help support everything that I'm trying to give you to help you on a day-to-day basis to help balance your budget. And there are, of course, resources for saving money out there, and did a little plug here for local government, federal credit union, because we have a very nice personal finance page, which the americasaves.org and the cfa.org here, they have nice personal finance pages on budgeting, articles to help you out, talks about apps and so forth. And then the add-in as far as the U.S. Department of Energy takes you to looking at your utility bill. What are ways that you can save on a monthly basis with that? So I wanted to share some resources here as far as some things that you can look at. Now, if you're not with the credit union, be sure to look at what your institution has. You can go online and just type in manage my finances, and you'll get a lot of different things. There's a lot of resources, a lot of information out there about it. But lastly here, as far as step 5, this is of course bringing it all together with managing your system, and it doesn't go away. You continually track. You pay your bills regularly. You balance, whether it's your check register or something online that you're using or an app. This says review your goals annually or after a major life change. Now, of course, after a major life change, you do. But if you're just starting out, don't wait an entire year to review. Do it weekly, monthly, ongoing, until you really truly do have a comfort level and you feel good about what you put into place. And of course, that falls into the last place. Does your spending plan fit within your goals? Because ultimately you set out to do this to accomplish goals, and within your savings system, within your savings, or to buy things that you plan out for your your intermediate or long term. And so just, manage your system, continually do it, hold yourself accountable, but have confidence in yourself that you can do it, and communicate with your family. If you're single, if you're talking to me, or have a mentor, but look for resources. If you feel that if something is not, if you're uncomfortable about something, I'm going to show you a screen here in just a minute that can be a resource for you. But the idea is, with this presentation and maybe introducing you to the first time to budget spending plan, is to do it now. No better time. I mean, don't waste any more time. If you've been concerned about this, worried about it, use some of the tools that I've provided within this presentation and start writing things out, start tracking things. List out some goals that you would do. Start with the short term. Once you're able to master some of that, start looking beyond that. But it's again, I can't reiterate the word now. And one other things that with the pandemic that we're in, local government has provided this to our members as far as some tips that I felt like would be necessary to share as far as this presentation. And as you read down them, you'll see maybe I've talked about some of them, but one of the things that I have not mentioned on this presentation is the very bottom one. 90% of the time we make emotional purchases when we are stressed. Save your money. Now is not the time to spend on unnecessary purchases. Part of the reason that I hone in on that is because who really thought that this pandemic was going to last even to this point where we are? And so the uncertainty as to how much longer it's going to last is we just do not know. And I can tell you that with an emotional purchase, you might feel good on the moment that you're doing it, but if you really get into a pattern of tracking your expenses, you're probably not going to feel so good when you look at that receipt when you have to adjust your budget. And another tip I'll provide to you is that if you're looking at spending, I don't know, $500 or more, I'm not sure what in each of you would consider a large purchase. Okay, so just follow me when I say this, is that if the purchase that you're doing is going to be significant, one, shop around, but two, if you find something that you want, give it a few days. Don't just buy because of urgency. Don't let sales pressure. Walk away, give it a few days. And that way you can ultimately really feel good about what you're doing. Check your budget again. Make sure that you plan accordingly for it. So impulse shopping, I think that was another word in the beginning that can really throw a wrench in your budget. Don't do it. If you're in a pattern to do it, be careful. Step back away from it to give it some time before you do make a large purchase. So this is a handout to all of our members. Hopefully it'll be beneficial to each of you as far as the presentation too. And my last slide here, as far as I was mentioning to you that if you feel just overwhelmed and you're starting out on your adventure to really hone in on your spending plan. I wanted to again give a slide here to the local government as far as we do have a financial counseling program that helps reviewing credit reports for members, the budget spending plan review. Say if you get it going, that's something that you can get a second look on. We have folks that help you look at how do you reduce your debt, and then finally, of course, goals and future goals. And now I can't speak for other institutions, but for you and yourself, again, look at what's available through where you are with your credit union, if it's not local government, or through your bank for this type of program. Now, if you're a member on the phone or on the seminar here, contact your local branch there in Lexington and see if you can set an appointment to meet with someone to do this. I'm going to go back and reiterate this with the previous slide. Now is the time to do it. and it's something that you can carry on. And if you have kids or will be having kids, you can distill into them for their future as well. So Whitney and Sage, I have come to the end of the presentation as far as entertaining any last comments or questions. But thank you for your time, and audience, thank you for being a part of it. But at this point, unless there's not any more comments or questions, I'll turn it back over to you, Whitney, as far as talking about giveaways.
Well, just want to thank you again for taking time. And you basically told me to stay off Amazon. That's what you said. It more impulsive Amazon purchases. Okay. So I'm listening. Yeah, we just want to thank everybody for staying on. And we're going to do a couple giveaways. And this is going to be interactive. So those people who are watching from Facebook or YouTube, Mr. Griffin has a couple questions. It is going to be whoever can get their answer in first. So I'll turn it back over actually to you to.
Okay.
And again, the questions are going to be based on the information that he just went over. So.
Okay, I'll do the first question, and we'll see who is quick to the draw. Okay. What is another word for spending plan?
And we'll just give them a few seconds or so to get that.
Let me reiterate the question. Throughout the presentation, I've talked about these synonymous with each other. But again, what is another word for spending plan?
I have that. Somebody just commented via YouTube, and they said budgeting.
And that is a correct answer, yes.
And that was, yes, so she has that one. So we'll get that gift card to you, and I'll reach out to her, Miss Ely, for answering that question. Thank you.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And so actually there were several people who came back and answered it. So they knew, but Miss Ely did get that one in faster than everybody. Okay.
Okay. Are we ready for the second question?
Yes.
All right. What are the two components of a budget? Give a hint, the two things that you track for your budget.
I'm watching both, trying to see. Miss Ely answered that one again. I want to give somebody another chance to. So
she was first?
She was first, but she just got that one. But we have someone else who just answered. And we have somebody on YouTube that just answered it. And they said incoming and expenses.
That is correct.
Awesome. So Jonah Threadgill on YouTube, if you could please message me, or you can email me at, I'm actually going to put my email in the list so you can email, but it is wmiddlebrooks@lha-nc.org, just so I can get that to you, because I'm not familiar with that name, so I want to be sure I know who that is. Yes, but thank you. So we have two winners of our giveaway. Do we have any other one, or are we good to go?
That's all I've got, unless Sage, you want to throw out a question, or if there's any more giveaways, Whitney.
It wasn't a question. It was really a statement. I just want to thank the local government federal credit union for partnering with us. And as you said in the beginning, a lot of times financial literacy is not taught in the classroom. And so knowledge is power. And
Yes.
so I thank you for coming out to the community. I mean, many financial institutions don't do that. So to make yourself available to the community is wonderful. And I think the thoughts that people often have is, well, I don't have a lot of money, so how am I going to budget or save? But the good book says, do not despise small beginnings. So
Right.
it's not how much you have, but what you do with what you have. And I think that was great. And I loved your story about the shoes, because you want to say, well, I have this much to work with. But even someone who may have a higher salary has to think in terms of responsible spending. So that
Right.
was great. And then even the technical difficulty, I'm a presenter. And so when I see a presenter present and they have some technical difficulty, it makes me comfortable because it happens to the best of us, right? It
You're
happens
not
all the
kidding.
time. It really does. So I thank you for coming, and I thank Leanne, and I thank all the participants who showed up again today after yesterday.
Thank you.
Yes,
So,
That's all I
absolutely. Thank you for that. Yes,
awesome.
definitely.
And so we're going to wrap up. And again, anyone who's in our communities, we do have Terrence Lane, we have Southside, and we have Helen Capel. Again, there's community art in each one. Feel free to go by, take pictures, tag us, and we'll be back again next month with another workshop.
And our workshop next month will be about health, which is very right on time for where we are right now.
Awesome. Thank you
That's
all.
awesome.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.